What's up, YouTube? It's Fizz. What up, snappers? This video, I want to tell you there's two ways to get to the spiritual world. And these are direct ways. You can't mess up on these ways. One would be starving yourself, fasting. For most people, it takes multiple days. The reason I delayed that was because I was looking at this guy spraying weed killer all over his weeds. Well, the parking lot's weeds. It's like you couldn't just cut it or just pull the weeds out your goddamn self. And they definitely weren't that tall. And I know the railroad people, and they be coming on the railroads and just spraying all the chemicals right on the railroads. I already know. Like, so the bushes on the side come, and I've even seen this do this. I've even seen this like on the countryside for the limited time that I was like around that way. They would just like go down, well, not even on the countryside, I guess, maybe what was formerly the countryside. But they probably, I mean, they do it on both anyway. Spraying chemicals to kill the freaking weeds. Like, I was gonna say something to the guy, but I mean, I don't know. I just really didn't find a point, because there's two things about that. Him just being lazy. It's an older guy. And two, I mean, him not knowing. But it's just like you know, you can tell a lot of people things, but as older people, it's hard to get messages across. Or just like common sense, he doesn't understand. No one does. I see a lot of people, a lot of people are sheep. But he a lot of people just use these chemical fertilizers and chemical weed killers. Like, it's just ridiculous. For like, I'm telling you, these weeds weren't even a foot. And they were like sparsely. It almost looked like parsley. Spread out sparsely. So the second way to get to the spiritual realm, direct. The reason I say direct is because, like, you know, all these people are trying to give you indirect ways. I just have older videos on this that go in more explanation and depth, but a lot of people try to give you like breathing exercises, and which I'm not saying they won't work, taking cold showers and just doing stuff like that. I mean, living in nature, then you're pretty much already there. But as you can see, for civilization and the modern man, most people aren't in nature, have no clue about it, or never been to it. And some don't even want to go to it, and never have the experience, or never had. So the second way would be to eat raw foods. Eat all your food raw, because if you didn't eat it all raw, then you're just going to counterbalance it by eating the cooked and unraw, and you're not going to really be in that state. Check out some other videos. I have videos on every topic, and if you have any requests, let me know. Sub to my channel, leave your experience and comment below. Also, you can get to the spiritual world without doing any of these. Some people who live like, well, who've gotten like a real nice healthy life or a natural birth, they kind of like, they might just be there, which I would imagine. Some people can eat cooked food and be perfectly fine with it, and never have. Not too many people can do that though, very few. I'm just saying, even if you do that, it's like resisting yourself and making it harder. So if you want to do that, make something harder than it actually is, by all means. I knew it was going to get super hot today. It was cooler, but the sun finally broke through the clouds. I guess a third way, which it does have some impact or implement on you to get to the spiritual sake of things. But I think could be more damaging to an extent. You know, they're a Russian roulette. They're like a shot in the dark, and it's basically taking drugs, natural ones, and like, I can't even say about some, but they all pretty much do. I have a video on this too. They all do the same thing, but they could definitely propel you to a spiritual state. And I know they like rub off, and they can change perspectives and definitely heal you in certain ways. But the thing about, I mean, I guess you always got to come back to everything, but drugs are like a thing you always got to come back to. They get that high. Whereas like, I mean, of course, like starving yourself, eventually you're going to eat. And then, but when you eat raw food, you're like always, you're pretty much always there. So, I don't know, I guess you get to pick your poison, but drugs can have repercussion, and so can fasting and starving yourself for too long. So, yeah, I mean, that was my two ways to the spiritual world, realm. And plus a bonus, if you want to know, like, some people will say, oh, well, what is it? And it's basically like just a whole chain, like your brain just shifts in momentum and you see things completely different in a whole new perspective. And that's why I like going long times, and you see things physically different, but you also feel different about them, and then you think differently about them. So that's technically what the spiritual realm is, and you feel more and you see more. And yeah, it's like that. It's not something you necessarily attain, because it'd be pretty much non-physical. And I feel like a lot of people put it out and they don't even know what they're talking about. I mean, being happy and bliss is cool. There is some people who do it, and that's why I like, again, like something like taking drugs would pretty much propel you into it, because it does put you into that state. But I've gotten to that state without doing those a bunch of times, to be honest. But once you find your way, then you're there. So that's pretty much it. Let me know how you feel below. Give me a like if you're on your way, if you're already there. And if you know what I'm talking about, give me a thumbs down. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, you're sitting in hell on Rikers Island in a jail cell, dropping soap and licking buttholes. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Stay tuned for more videos.